All right, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It is Monday, and this is episode number 467 of Let There Be Talk.
Whoa.
Yeah, right? I've got a co-host at the top for the intro, which is very, very unusual for Let There Be Talk, but my man Greg Hips is here. Introduce yourself, my man.
Intro co-host, Greg Hips.
Yep.
Greg Loiacono, sitting on Dean's.
Yeah, this is a sleeper sleeper
show.
couch.
Yeah, the sleeper couch.
Yeah, this couch is. We are kind of powering through. Not much sleep coming home from Pioneer Town.
We were in the desert.
We were in the desert, Palm Springs, Joshua Tree, actually, at one of the greatest venues in America, Pappy and Harriet's. As far as vibe, I don't think anything can really touch this. It's in an old ghost town where they used to shoot like gun smoke and shit.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was a bowling alley there that's been closed, but all the shit's still in there. And it's a one dirt street town, a western town.
Yeah, there's a little goat thing over there. What was a goat? The little goat section.
Yeah. And then there's like a guy with oxygen pumping into his nostrils. Making saddles.
And saddlebags.
And then there was a hippie used clothing shop that had amazing concert tees and some room spray that I bought because I love me some room spray.
That Springsteen shirt for $225.
Yeah, but that was a real shirt though.
No, I know.
Wow. It was nice.
And the bowling alley looked like it's probably from the late 50s or something.
Yeah, it looked like something out of There Will Be Blood. And it's been sitting there.
Abandoned my boy.
What a great film, right?
Oh my God.
But we're out there. Greg is, of course, in the Mother Hips, one of my favorite bands of all times. I've talked to people about this band for 30 years. 30 years now, right?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting close.
When is the 30 year?
I guess it'll be 21.
21.
Yeah.
That's insane.
2021. That's insane on its own that's the date.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2021. It's very future.
When I think about it, I look at like when I thought the Hips were over years ago when you quit and it was kind of over and you left the band and that documentary, it was kind of a farewell and now here we are. Years later, you come back or whatever.
We've been together since the hiatus, longer than we were before the hiatus. And we took the hiatus because it was like, Jesus, we've been in bands for so fucking long. We're gonna just stop.
Yeah.
And now it's been twice.
And it's better than ever right now. You know, the last record was fire.
Thanks.
Oh, God. And then you've got some new solo stuff out right now, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And San Felipe.
San Felipe is a single that just came out. You can find it on Spotify. There's a video that Darren Ney made. Darren, you may know from the Gramblers, when Nicky Bloom and the Gramblers, that band. He's a fine guitar player. But he made this great video for my new song, San Felipe. And a lady named Jamie Drake sings the duet with me. It's a song that I recorded up in Ojai. So check that out. Spotify or any of the streaming stuff or iTunes or the video on YouTube.
The video's cool. It's like, cool. Is he an animator or how did he do that?
Well, he is now. I mean, I gave him some ideas about wanting it to be sort of an early 60s Tropo vibe kind of thing. And then he brought in the idea of Saul Bass, who did a bunch of title sequences for movies and posters for Man with the Golden Arm and Vertigo and all these really cool sort of animated title sequences. And so Darren came up with the idea when I sent him the song and gave him some of the images that I was interested in, and he sent me a clip of that, and he nailed it. And
it's so good.
And
so
then
good.
Carolina, Trigger sent over some of artwork that she drew, and Darren incorporated into the video. So a bunch of the art that you see in there is
your wife?
Is my wife, yeah.
Wow.
Carolina Loiacono.
That's so great. I love it.
She did, so you remember songs from the Golden Dream, my solo record that we talked about that on the show. She didn't design it, but she did art on that too. She's a secret artist. She doesn't like to admit it, but I steal her art and put it on all my projects because I like it. It's very vibrant and colorful.
You guys have been married so long.
Yeah, 49 years. No. 72 years. No.
Yeah.
This year will be 19 years. It's easy to remember because we got married in 2000.
Yeah, no, it's so great.
Yeah.
We were out there. You are playing in the Green Leaf Rustlers, which is a Chris Robinson project.
Yep.
You know, of course, Chris Robinson from Black Crowes. Then he had the New Earth Mud. And then he had CBD. I always want to
CBD.
CBD because I love CBD. CRB. CBD.
Yeah.
He's got the CBD, man. But he's doing this also in between the CRB band. And it is just fantastic. This was my first time getting to see it because I work so much. But I took a night off. We went out to the desert. And I realized I need to do that more, get out there. It's so spiritual. But the guys in this group, you, Barry on pedal steel.
Yeah, Barry Sless.
Yeah, Barry Sless. The drummer.
John Molo.
Who played with Bruce Hornsby.
In the Range.
It's just insane. And then this bass player, Pete Sears, who jammed with Hendrix but was in Starship early on. He played on the
Ground. He was in
Stone Ground. He played on the great big Starship ones like Jane and all that.
Oh, yeah. He wrote some of them. Winds of Change, remember?
Oh, yeah.
You stranger.
And he played on the first 4 Rod Stewart solo records.
Yeah.
Oh, man, he was telling me stories last night.
Yeah. Oh,
He
you finally got. Yeah, he's such a gentleman. He's such a sweetheart. So
Oh.
the stories come out and in time.
He just parked next to me and he's like, yeah, when we were doing Maggie May,
Yeah.
I played piano.
He played Celeste.
Yeah, Celeste.
he
He goes, Nicky Hopkins was playing, of course, and then, you know, the Faces was still going on, so they would play on one song each record, but we're on the album covers. But one day I couldn't be there, so they put my name under the soccer ball.
Yeah, I saw that. On the, I think it's on. I think it's the Smiler one.
Yeah.
I might have it wrong. It might be the other one. With
He's so these guys are monster musicians in their later part of life. I don't know how old they are, but I'm 53, so they're probably in their 60s. What do you think?
Well, I'm the youngest guy in the band, 47. Chris is the same age as you.
Yeah.
And then we got, Barry's a mystery. Barry could be 25. He could be 95. He's just
Yeah.
floating through time. Time means nothing to him.
Yeah.
And then Pete.
He's an actual hologram.
I think Pete told me, he's 70, 71. He is
Guy murders.
But he's that good, and he's always been that good, and he's as good as he's ever been. He's just loves playing bass. Fantastic piano player. There was a piano at the place we played the Lodge Room in L.A. the other night, and there was a piano there, and Pete sat down and started playing beautiful piano.
Oh.
Molo's probably in his mid-60s. Those guys are they're veterans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you see these guys, it makes me feel so good to, and of course we're talking about the greatest music scene going on right now still, which is the jam scene, because those people love music. They respect incredible players. They love great songs. So it's, when you're there, it's like it could be the 60s, it could be the 70s. We don't know what year it is. Minimal phones out. Minimal.
Yep.
Everybody just taking a ride. And it's just, I love to see that. And that's what I love about the jam scene, is these guys and you are playing, and people are there Sunday night at 11 o'clock in the desert, and people are getting
It's
off.
packed, yeah.
Packed, sold out.
And we play country rock music.
You're right.
So a lot of the stuff you'll hear in that band, Doug Somm, Gene Clark, The Byrds, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Webb Pierce, Mel Tillis, some old school stuff like that. Willie Nelson, a lot of new writers of the Purple Sage.
Yeah.
So Barry,
J.J. Cale.
Barry and Pete, the bass player, and John, the drummer, play in David Nelson band.
Right.
So David Nelson was in New Riders. He played on Box of Rain on the Dead. He played on some Dead tracks. Yeah, that's
Sick.
him playing the solo on Box of Rain.
Oh, wow.
Jerry's playing like piano on that.
Oh, wow.
Bass, yeah. Right. Yeah, and so those guys play a lot together. We do some New Riders songs. We do
Does Chris
Flying Burrito Brothers.
Does Chris pick the set list?
For the most part, I'll throw some songs out there, and I sing about 2 per set. But I'll even pick ones that I think he should sing.
Yeah.
He'll ask me like, put in a new song, you want to sing or something. But I'll find ones that I think he would do great. But for the most part, he's picking stuff, and he switches up the set list a lot. And
Every night.
every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you guys rehearsing at all? Because you guys were killing. I mean, you're killing it.
Technically, we've never rehearsed. We've done we've done long sound checks.
Yeah.
The only time we rehearsed is at the beginning of this tour. We did 2 nights in Big Sur and 1 in San Francisco, and John Molo was back at the Capitol for Phil Lesh's birthday. So he was playing drums in Phil Lesh and Friends band with John Schofield and Ben Montaigne, Jackie Green, and so Tony Leone, who's in the CBD.
Yeah, CBD band.
Tony Leone is in CRB, filled in.
Yeah.
And so we actually rehearsed. We went to my buddy Craig's house and we played for, 2 hours. And that was the only time we've ever had an actual rehearsal. The rest of the stuff is Chris will be like, hey, check out these 4 songs, and we'll listen to them, and we'll go to sound check and run them and then add them into the list. And I would say Barry, well, in the Sprinter, you were in the Sprinter when Barry was there, and he pulled out a list. He wrote down all the songs. There's 100 songs we've done so far.
100?
Yeah. And we haven't even been, like, just under a year we've been a band.
So great.
And we play sporadically because, Chris has CRB, I have Mother Hips. Those guys have David Nelson Band and Moon Alice and another band called California Kind. So everybody, whenever we have time off of our projects, this is what we do.
It's great. I was immersed in it last night, from the riding in the van with you guys out to the venue, the sound check, the entire gig, and then the 3-hour hang after.
And the fact that I looked over, you were literally standing right over Barry's pedal. You were on stage. I thought you were going to start playing something.
Yeah, I was just over there like, hey, I was waiting for the coach to put me in. I was over there like, put me in. What are you doing? I know this one. So you want to be a rock and roll star? I was there. I was sitting there. It was a weird spot to be, but there was
nowhere else to go.
There's nowhere else to go. I was like,
that was all you.
I went into the venue and it was sold out. And Pappy and Harriet's is a bizarre venue. It's a restaurant/venue. So the first half was completely packed, and if you wanted to watch the band, you go behind this wall, and you could watch it on video screens. Yeah. I go, no, I'm not doing this. So I was.
So you had Barry's 2 Rock.
Yeah, 2 Rock.
And my Fat Jimmy. Those are the first front line right there.
Yeah, you can see it on my Instagram. I posted up a video, but what I was saying was I really enjoyed for that 24 hours, I was like, well, this is a band I could play in, because it was people that loved music, and they know that that's what they do. They're lifers. Mm-hmm. They're lifers in the music world, and they're not sitting around going, well, what's going on? Are any labels looking at us or what?
No, we're having fun.
Yeah, it's just we play because we love it. It's like me doing comedy. I do it because I love it. And it was just a great night. Chris was DJing after the show in the green room, and I was hearing all this fantastic music I hadn't heard. This record, Jimmy Carter, not the president, but a guy that did a country record in the early 70s. Chris turned me onto that. And then this other guy brought this record, Baby Grandma.
Yeah, Baby Grandma?
Grandmothers.
Baby Grandmas.
Baby Grandma. Yeah,
Britt brought that.
It was incredible. And then what was great was Chris had the same kind of music taste as his. Then he gets into Prince, Sign of the Times. He starts playing The Time, and I was like...
Grand Funk Station? Graham Central Station.
Yeah, that was great. Which is Graham's the incredible Larry Graham, the incredible bass player. His solo stuff. So we were just having a great fucking night. And I want to thank you for having me out there.
Oh, man, it was so good to get to hang with you. It still is, yeah.
I know, it's great. My guest today is an insane music legend. A music legend. Oh, by the way, that's Baby Grandmother's, that record, in case you guys...
So good,
So
man.
good. It's unbelievable.
Jesus.
My guest today is a legend, Alan Parsons. You want to talk about somebody that knows music, somebody that's been in it all his life. I believe he's 71 years old. And at 18 years old, he worked at Abbey Road as a second engineer, cutting tape, running errands, while the Beatles were in there working. This guy worked on Let It Be. He also mic'd up the rooftop concert. He worked on the best record, top 5 record ever, Dark Side of the Moon, which is insane.
Yeah, it's the best record ever recorded.
I mean, if you want to, whenever you go and listen to $1 Million Stereo, they throw on.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's what they throw on. It's either that or Steely Dan and Asia. Yeah. Those two. And I go, no, put on a shittier record because these make all things sound great.
Yep. One of the first times smoking weed with my buddy Ray, and his friend, his older brother had a surround sound.
Oh.
And we sat in this dark room in these laid back chairs.
Yeah.
And Dark Side of the Moon.
Speaking of surround sound, Alan Parsons just remixed Eye in the Sky for surround sound and won his first Grammy. He's been nominated like 18 times for Grammys. Whoa. And he finally won. Alan Parsons was asked to work on Wish You Were Here after he did Dark Side of the Moon. He says, nah, gonna go my own route, which is ballsy. Starts his group, the Alan Parsons Project, and from mid-70s to the 90s, just killing it with hit songs. And if you don't know who Alan Parsons is, I guarantee...
You do.
You do.
You just played me 4 songs that I knew that I didn't know were hits.
Exactly. And some of the times you'll be like, oh, I love this song. I love it. And if you want to know where to dig into, start with their first record, 1976, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. This thing is crazy, and you're going to understand kind of where Kiss the Elder brewed from, or Styx, Mr. Roboto. Definitely was all influenced by Alan Parsons, I realized later on in life. They also have an incredible record, The Turn of a Friendly Card, that is just phenomenal. And they have hit after hit after hit. I, Robot is a great record, and I love the song, I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. Whoa! All that stuff. It's very, very 70s FM dial, and they dominated the FM dial, and Alan Parsons sat on my couch, and he
was in here?
He came
on this couch right
on
here?
this couch right here, and he probably
was he nice?
Oh, he was the nicest dude, and I bet he was like looking around like, what is this bullshit show? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like at 71, he's like, I'm a goddamn legend. I'm in some backyard somewhere, you know?
Yeah, that's cool he did it.
Him and his wife were amazing, and I'm going to go see him April 4th at the Saban, and I cannot wait to see him. And I found out later that my good friend Dan Thompson is the drummer in the band, who also played with me for a while. And he's from San Francisco and played in Protein. So, yeah, pretty wild. And you guys
Josh Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys are going to love this episode. Make sure you go see Greg, the Mother Hips, the Hypnic, the Green Leaf Rustlers. I'm hoping we get Chris Robinson on here one day. Believe me, I understand where he's at in his mind. Like, why do I need to do press? It's not really press, but it's more of just a celebration of this man's love of music and everybody else that's been on here, including Alan Parsons and Greg Hips here. So let's get into the episode. Thank you for tuning in. This week, Saturday night, I will be in San Jose headlining, and the info's on my Instagram. And I want to give a quick shout out to all the new donators, the Patreon donators. I love you guys. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Here we go. David Stern, Brett Pickett, Kelly Chalet or Chaffee. Yeah, I like it, Greg. Stephen Byrne and Meat Smith. Oh, Meat Smith again. It's just Smith, but it comes over like this, like, hey, what's up, Meat Smith?
Yeah, Meat Smith.
And then Uki Barlev upped his fucking donation.
Thank you, Uki.
Which, by the way, you and I ate some fucking
night
racks.
We had the night racks.
we ate barbecue at 2 a.m. last night like assholes.
If you haven't been to Pappy and Harriet's, go out there because it's beautiful and in the desert and it'll blow your mind. But also go out there for the rack.
Yeah, here's what you do. Like the Melvins is coming up out there, which would be insane. You take a drive out, you grab some mushrooms, you book a room right there at the Western town there.
Yeah,
they got like
Pioneer Town.
Yeah, Pioneer Town. They got like 9 rooms. You drop the mushrooms, you watch Melvins Under the Stars, and then just stumble over to your room, dodging rattlesnakes.
But you got to eat the ribs.
You got to eat the ribs first with the mushrooms. So that sounds good. I love all you guys. See you out on the road in the next couple weeks. Comedy Castle, April 11th through the 14th in Detroit. Get your tickets now. Comedy Cellar, April 29th through May 5th at Las Vegas, Nevada at the Rio Hotel. Paps Theater, Joey Diaz and I, 2 shows, 420. And then La Jolla Comedy Store, June 21st through the 23rd. Here we go. Mr. Alan Parsons. Welcome to another episode of Let There Be Talk. We got a legend on today. Introduce yourself.
My name is Alan Parsons. How are you today?
I'm great, man. Yeah. I've never met you, but we have a mutual friend.
I don't have any friends.
Dan Thompson, your
Dan
drummer.
Thompson. Oh, right.
He played drums in my band for a while.
Oh, really?
And I've known him about 25 years.
What was your band called?
It's just Dean Del Rey, but he lived down here in L.A., but we knew each other from San Francisco when he played in Protein and that whole 9 yards. And I didn't even know that he was in your band till about a half hour ago. My buddy called and said, oh, yeah, Alan played at Dan's wedding with the Wonder Bread 5. And next thing you know, I'm going, holy shit, we got a mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great drummer, too.
That's really wild. Is. How did you find Dan?
I think it was my bass player, Guy Erez. He pretty much assembled this incarnation of the band. Found Danny, and he didn't find our keyboard player. We had a different keyboard player back then, but he certainly introduced Danny. And he knew PJ Olsen, who was the long-standing singer in the band. So that the hierarchy would have been PJ to Guy and then to Danny. So.
And how long have you guys been out touring with this unit?
There's been 1 or 2 changes. We got a new guitar player called Jeff Coleman.
Yeah.
And he replaced a guy that was with us probably 4 or 5 years, Alistair Green. He's got his own band, a blues band, Alistair Green Blues Band. So he's busy in his own right. We added Todd Cooper probably 4 years ago as well. He's another singer, and he plays mean sax as well. So
that's great, man.
It's an 8-piece now. It's grown. It used to be 6. Now it's grown to 8. So.
8-piece. That's got to be expenhow right? You're like you're looking around, going like, "Hey, there's not a lot of money out there. Let's get one guy to do 2 things."
How about doing 2 things? One of them being share a hotel room.
Yeah, and not only that, but maybe possibly tour manage and drive the van and bus. It's so brutal out there.
Well, my wife is the tour manager, so she doesn't need a room of her own, so that's good.
I dove down the rabbit hole, of course, with you. I've listened to your music all my life. I'm 53, and the Alan Parsons Project was all over the radio for me growing up. It was either them or Steely Dan. It just seemed
Were
like...
you in New York then?
I was
or?
in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
And the Bay Area, like K-Fog, would play the shit out of your
I
music.
remember K-Fog, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was the name of the female DJ in K-Fog?
God, I don't know.
Dark frizzy hair.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that you guys were on really every station
Yeah,
in the
got,
70s.
In the late 70s, we did well on radio over there, yeah.
That's unbelievable, the track record. I looked into it, though, and of course, at 18, you were working at Abbey Road, and that is just mind-boggling to be in that situation where the Beatles are at their height. They're about to break up, of course.
Right.
Let It Be being the last show, rooftop concert, and last record. But at 18, I know I loved music and was addicted to it from like 12 on out. Mm-hmm. What hits you? I talked to a lot of guys that are around your age. Some people say it was Hendrix. Some people say it was the Beatles.
Certainly the Beatles. I was there for the early years of prog rock, Yes.
Oh.
Genesis, all that.
That's definitely a lot of your sound.
I favoured instrumental music, Vangelis in particular. I was very keen on him. But funnily enough, although my favourite bands were prog rock guys, I was producing pop bands. I was producing the likes of Pilot and Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. Pilot was the band that did "Oh Ho Ho It's Magic."
I love it.
My throat's gone.
Yeah.
I was more of a popster than a rocker, really. But when I met Eric, we just kind of resolved to go into the prog area and make a concept album based on Poe stories, Edgar Allan Poe stories.
When you're 18, how do you pick up these skills of being an assistant engineer, then later an engineer, then producer and engineer? Are you just doing it like you just magically had this stuff? Because there's no internet or anything back then. You had to be hands-on. You get in there and you're like a intern. I've seen a million studio interns. They start learning stuff, cutting tape, right. and what all that stuff is, running, getting drugs, coffee, whatever it is. And eventually you start twisting knobs at 4 a.m. because guys are like, grab that, get into that. But was it automatic for you, or were you learning a lot from other guys like George Martin and stuff in Abbey Road?
Very much a learning process right from the beginning. I mean, I did start at the bottom. I started in the tape library, did a stint there, and then came downstairs and eavesdropped on sessions, just literally watching. Then let loose on a tape machine, being a tape operator. And then learning from the engineers, then gradually getting into doing, say, a rough mix at the end of the night for somebody when the engineer had to go, things like that. And then it progressed into, getting the full-blown engineer's job, and then production. And then it was a great sort of development. But everything happened so quickly. It really did. That's such
an early era, too. You got like a couple 4-tracks, machines, you're bouncing them, so some Neves, whatever you got in there. Then it gets 8-track comes along. I mean, that is really a really great organic era of recording, and to be in that studio with what they had done with the previous records, Sgt. Pepper's and everything, and what Beach Boys were doing with Pet Sounds. So that's a really people trying to like outdo each other. But the number one thing about all that was the incredible tones and sounds. That was something Abbey Road was famous for, just breeding classic engineers. And Jeff Emmerich, God bless him, he died shortly, a few months ago. Ken Scott, another Beatles engineer, Norman Smith. I mean, all the Abbey Road engineers, they were just so talented. And I hope some of that rubbed off on me. I mean, I think it I mean, absolutely. Yeah. The stuff you've worked on. And how many Grammys you have for engineering? Is it like...
One.
Well, one. So you got...
that was this year.
That was this year.
Yeah.
But you have a shitload of nominations.
13 nominations.
13.
I think I held the record.
You're like the Susan Lucci. She's that soap star that never won. You're like, I'm not going out there again. Yeah, it's...
And the very first nomination was for Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon.
And several various bands since, including The Project. Ambrosia got a couple. But yeah, 13 nominations. And I just won this year for a Best Surround remix.
For what was it for?
For Eye in the Sky.
Oh, wow.
It was a box set, and we remixed it in 5.1 surround, and that's the category that it won in. That's
just so cool that, I mean, you finally got one.
Yeah, indeed.
And I don't know how old you are, but
having dinner with the mastering engineer tonight because he gets the Grammy too. So.
And that was a couple weeks ago then.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were on a cruise on the Justin Hayward on the Blue cruise.
Yeah.
With the Zombies and with Al Stewart and with Steve Hackett and lots of luminaries, and we were watching the Grammy stream on our phones on the lifeboat deck for the lifeboat drill.
Oh,
so there's these guys trying to tell us how to blow whistles and how to put life jackets on.
Yeah, that's right. When you get on the ship,
suddenly there was a big way on the lifeboat deck from the whole band sort of giving us a cheer. It was great.
Yeah, that's so cool. When you are early on, because you play everything, you're like a multi-instrumentalist.
I'm a bad multi-instrumentalist.
You can dabble in everything.
Don't play anything really well, but.
What do you consider your main instrument? Guitar. Guitar. Yeah.
Acoustic guitar.
Early on, acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. Early on, did you get some great guitars, like some old Martin D18s or D28s or anything?
I never started really getting into great guitars until I started playing live and getting a name, and then the likes of Gibson, Taylor, all these wonderful guitar manufacturers would say, hey, you can have this, which is really nice.
What are you playing?
I'm currently playing a Taylor.
Oh, Taylor, yeah. Those guys are great, right?
Yeah, it's great.
When you're in working with Pink Floyd, I mean, this is the biggest selling record, pretty much one of the top 5 biggest selling records of all time. When you're in there and they're starting to do this, are you sitting there going like, this is insane what these guys are doing?
I think we all felt at the time that it was going well and it was certainly the best music they'd recorded so far. But no one knew that we'd be talking about it 45 years later. It's unbelievable. Or is it longer than 45 years? I don't know. What's 72? What is it?
I don't know.
44 years.
44 years. Yeah. And it's still one of the top 5 greatest sounding records ever.
I'm proud to be associated with a great sounding album, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, they asked you to work on the next record, Wish You Were Here, but now you start the Alan Parsons Project. Were you pretty confident, like, I'm going to go out there and just do this, to walk away from this career?
I wasn't at all confident, no. But I'd had some success with these pop singles, with Pilot and Cockney Rebel, another British artist called John Miles, who didn't really figure over here in the States, but he had a top 5 hit as well, and two top 5 hits in the UK. But I was incredibly successful in the UK. I had 2 consecutive #1 singles in the singles chart.
Yeah,
and it just seemed the right decision not to take the Pink Floyd job. They offered me a full-time, engineering in the studio and engineering them live as well. I turned it down, but it was the right thing to do.
When you listen to Tales, I never really put it together till recently that these records are really where Kiss the Elder and Styx, Mr. Roboto, they just really mined the sound of this first record. It's crazy. When I listen to it, I go, well, this is where they got all of that. Both those bands, if you listen to them. I don't know if you ever listened to Kiss the Elder, but it sounds like the Tales record big time. And then that vocoder, that's all over the Styx, Mr. Roboto. Wow. How did you come up with that vocoder?
Dennis DeYoung was always a fan. I know that much.
Oh, well, then know that's where they got that. There's just no way. Yeah. When you put it on, you go like, oh, well, this is where they were grabbing that.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard that before, so I'll have to go and check that out.
Oh, most definitely, especially Kiss the Elder.
Okay.
And the guy that did The Wall did Kiss the Elder. So there's definitely this whole, let's try to get this not psychedelic, but kind of proggy, weird opera rock thing going. How did that Vocoder Vocal Happen? Because that's basically kind of the first time that ever happened.
It was one of the departments of EMI Records was a research lab in West London, where these audio gurus would dream up stuff, and they pretty much invented this digital vocoder. The same effect was produced in the 50s by using a throat mic and and talking at the same time. There was a famous sequence on I think it was on Capitol called Sparky the Magic Piano. You didn't really?
No.
You never got to that.
No.
And it sounds exactly like a vocoder.
So
But,
there's a microphone that would go on your neck?
Yeah, and it would resonate as you spoke, and would. It's got a name. I can't think of what it is. But if you look up Sparky the Magic Piano,
I will, on YouTube.
yeah,
Definitely.
it'll be there somewhere.
So
And EMI essentially invented this box. It was really difficult to work, and you had to fight not to let it go into distortion. But we got this vocal effect on the Raven that worked, and it was pretty much the first time anybody had used a vocoder, as far as I know.
were you guys touring at the time? Because I never saw the Alan Parsons Project ever. Were you a lot like Steely Dan, a studio band?
We were a studio band.
Right.
We never actually toured at all as the Alan Parsons Project. We did one gig in Belgium as the Alan Parsons Project.
At what year?
1990.
One gig.
Yeah.
One gig ever.
But several gigs followed with the Alan Parsons Live project.
Yeah.
Which was it was kind of an acknowledgement that Eric and I had parted ways, and that I'd formed a band, and off we went, albeit doing the Alan Parsons Project music, but it was separate from Eric. The Alan Parsons Project was two people, Eric Wolfson and myself.
Right. That's incredible. Never touring. Can you imagine a band now getting signed and saying, "No, we don't tour"? It's the only way you would make money. But back then, you were selling millions of records.
And I think had we toured, we probably could have been as big as anybody. Could have been a stadium act if we had played live.
100%, because you have tons of hits, and nobody got to see you. So if they could go see you, it would be like rabid fans. I mean, especially if you go from you get into the run of hits, people are ready to see that. Ready to see that. You guys,
we do a hits show.
Yeah.
When we play live.
Now you do, right?
It's hits, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that. We've got a new album coming out, first album in 14, 15 years. So we'll be playing some new material from that. But everything else is pretty much hits.
When's the record coming out?
26th of April.
Nice.
So about a month from now.
And where'd you guys record that? Your house or something?
My house, yes. In a studio on my property. I used to have a studio in the house, and it used to drive my wife mad. And it was much more modest as a studio. But the new studio is fully fledged, brand new 32-channel console, Pro Tools HD, and all the
Tape or just Pro Tools?
Just Pro Tools.
Yeah.
There's very few people still putting up with analog tape. I mean, it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Compared with the speed of digital. It's it really is a time saver working digitally.
When you were tracking these records in the 70s, how long were you guys in the studio? Were you in there all year round? Were you pumping them out every couple of weeks? Because you guys put out a record every year, 70s style. Each band back then, some bands would put out 2 a year.
Yeah, we worked fairly quickly. I mean, we took breaks though. We didn't do 6 week stints. We just did a week here, a week there. Eric would go off, take a break, and sometimes come over to here to the States to write lyrics and to seek inspiration.
Yeah.
And I would say no more than say 11, 12 weeks in to make an album, but spread out over a year period. As you said, we put out an album every year.
Yeah.
For a long time we did that.
They sound spectacular.
Oh.
I mean, you guys and Steely Dan, like I said before, when you hear these records, you put some headphones on and just listen to what's going on. It's just incredible. You're like, what was that? You're looking around your house. You're like, oh, that's something back in the background there. You know, it's just so cool. And the guitar playing on these records is phenomenal. Who was playing the lead stuff on that?
His name is Ian Bairnson, Scotsman from the Shetland Islands, but was living in Edinburgh when I first met him. Amazing player. I mean, he played on every Project album, and he's playing on the new album too. So
Whoa,
it's a welcome return for him. He's done two solos on the new album.
where's that guy live in the States?
He's in London, no, just outside London, a place called Bray.
And he's still playing other than you with the
He's still playing. He's not in the best of health, poor guy, but he's still got it when it comes to guitar playing.
Yeah, that guy just killed it. I never got to see the band, of course, live, but what is there, 3 singers?
In the new band, in the live
like
band,
back in the day.
It was kind of a trademark. We would have a different singer on every song, pretty
Right.
much. And we had a good stable of people to choose from. We had Lenny's Architect, who's the guy that sang Games People Play and Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. Eric, of course, did Eye in the Sky, Don't Answer Me, Time. Alan Clark from the Hollies sang Breakdown.
Whoa.
You didn't know that, maybe?
I didn't know that.
You need to read the small print on the album covers.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, I was like, whoa. I mean, that's so bizarre to think about a band with different singers every record or in every song, not playing live. It's almost like a complete mystery band. Mm-hmm. Was the label, because you guys signed to Arista after your first record, was the label ever kind of like, hey, I don't know, what's going on with this? Stick with this, or did they just say do whatever you wanted?
Well, it was Clive Davis, of course.
Oh, so, Clive. That guy's a wow. Clive.
So he knows his music. He knows what's going to work and what is not going to work. He would sometimes encourage us to be a little more commercial than we might have been otherwise. He would do his own edits on songs to bring them down to 3 minutes,
Yeah.
And we say, Clive, that doesn't actually work, that cut, We'll do a version that does work, But God bless him, he gave us the success that we enjoyed for so many years.
That Clive is actually a god. I mean, a music.
Still doing it too.
Music freak, right?
Still in his way into his 80s or possibly even 90s now. Still doing it.
What were you listening to in the 70s? Were you just listening to FM rock, or were you just in your own world? Who were you digging?
Pretty much. I mean, I was always a huge fan of The Who. In later years, I think a lot of people call it yacht rock these days.
Yeah, but, right.
England Dan, John Folcoli, Christopher Cross.
Yeah, soft rock is what I used to call it when I was growing up. Soft rock. But yeah, now it's yacht rock. I don't even know how I got that.
I don't know why.
I guess it's just rich people on their yachts, white people like, put on some Steely Dan. They're just like, we're living it up. It's so wild. But yacht rock is a huge station on XM radio.
Right, yeah. We often tune into it.
You tune in and you just hear yourself every hour, man.
What's the name of that Australian band that did so well? Little River Band. I love them.
Oh, Little River Band. And, Christopher Cross.
Yes.
Seals and Crofts, right?
Seals. There's another Australian.
Supertramp. That was another one.
Supertramp.
Yeah.
Sure. Who before the end of the interview, I'll think of who that is, and I'll shout it out. Neil Finn. Who was Neil Finn's?
Oh yeah, Neil Finn.
Crowded House. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, Crowded House. How dumb are we? And then Split Ends. Oh, remember that record?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great record. Split Ends. 70s had some of the greatest music ever.
I think I was approached to produce Split Ends at one point, but it just didn't work out for some reason. But there we are.
Now, I wanted to ask you, did you get to see the Let It Be rooftop concert? Were you around? Did you engineer?
I was
you
there.
Were there.
I was up on the roof. I wasn't recording. I was just
You were up on the roof.
Yeah, just making sure that nothing broke down, and all the mics were working and all that stuff.
That's one of the most magical days in rock and roll ever. They play their last gig in San Francisco in '66 at the Candlestick. That's it. Then they never play, and then all of a sudden, I guess they were going to do some different ideas.
So they played in '66, didn't they?
That was the last tour.
I thought it was. I didn't think they'd toured any time since Sgt. Pepper. But
66 is the last tour. And I only know that because I was born in '66, and their last gig was in San Francisco. I'm from the Bay Area, so it's a pretty legendary. Recently, they tore down Candlestick, and a lot of the history in that place, and that was one of the biggest things about it. But
we just had the 50th anniversary of Let It Be, so
right,
that means that Abbey Road is coming right up. It'll be early next year, I guess.
It's wild when you watch that.
No, it'll be later this year.
When you watch that rooftop concert, it's so cool. Right? I mean,
yeah, it needed to happen. The sessions weren't going very well. They were a bit long-faced, not getting the results they really wanted. So whoever's idea it was, I have a strong suspicion it was Paul. He said, let's go and set up the mics on the roof and play a live show as if it was a concert that we'd been booked for. But it was like literally the night before we started running the cables up to the rooth. And there it was.
Those microphones
and
are wild.
It brought new life to the songs. It really did. They needed that lift of playing on the roof to bring life into those songs.
You worked with the Beatles, dude. I haven't talked to anyone who's worked with the Beatles. And I was
in a pretty junior position. I was,
but still,
a trainee.
Still, though, you're there around the biggest band in the world, and they're combusting, they're falling apart, and that's at a time where each guy went to the studio alone, right?
It had come to that. Obviously they had to play together when they were laying down the basic tracks, bass, drums, guitars, and so on. But in the latter part of the making of the album, which I was involved in, the last 4 weeks or so, yes, it was individual Beatles coming in to work on their own songs, doing their vocals, doing their solos, whatever.
And when they're in there, are you hearing them say yeah, fuck George, hate his ideas, that kind of crazy shit? Because that's got to be bizarre. And they're coming in hey, let me hear what he did. That's crap.
I don't think there was any of that. I think they just chose to work alone. That's all.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think anybody criticized anybody else. I think they did later when they went solo.
Yeah, that's when they started throwing daggers. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, when I was younger, the solo Paul Wing stuff I was so into. And then as you get older, you're ooh, it's all about the George Harrison record. That record.
I remember George saying to me, have you heard Paul's album? Really, with a frown on his face. Have you heard it?
Yeah.
He didn't like it at all.
Well, I get into that Jet and that stuff, Band on the Run. Mm-hmm. Those two songs to me a lot
Maybe I'm Amazed was the song for me. I was on that session.
Oh, you were on that session?
Yeah.
God. Dude, you're that's legendary.
It was just a day. He did it in a day.
In one day?
One day. Playing everything.
Wow. Did a lot of the songwriting ideas for you come off of working with these legends like the Beatles? Because you guys wrote some serious hits.
I think it goes without saying that I was Beatle influenced. And I think all the experiences, the great thing about working at Abbey Road was that the musical styles were so diverse. You'd be working with a jazz band one day and a heavy rock band the next day, the Beatles the next day, Pink Floyd the next day. It was a very exciting time. And, everything was an influence in the end, I'm sure.
I've been to that Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Years ago. And
did you feel the magic?
Oh, man, right? Yeah. It's a lot like Electric Ladyland in New York or Fantasy in Berkeley. Mm-hmm. When you're in these rooms you can just feel some magic in the proper studios. You go in and you go like, oh, wow. It is real. Like, what's the one, Sound City?
Oh, yes, right.
I'd been
You saw the movie?
I saw the movie. Yeah,
great.
and I'm such a vintage gear freak. Do you really think that, I mean, I believe this, that there is magic in certain boards and everything in rooms, because I've worked on some Trident boards, I've worked on some Neve boards, and then when you get into different, like lesser boards, it just kind of seems like nothing has any oomph. And especially now, of course, in the digital world. But
it's important, but I've never been one to sort of complain about my equipment. I always say, well, whatever it is, it's not the greatest console in the world. It's not a great mic collection, but we'll make it work. You know,
right.
That's the attitude I always take.
You don't even really realize the production because the song's so amazing. And that's what you hope for. I remember the ADAT world, and that was the real garbage of I just couldn't handle that stuff.
Yeah, I was CD quality from the moment it started. It never got any better than CD. But you know, we've grown up now. We've realized that CD used to be really good, but we've outgrown CD now.
Yeah, we're back to vinyl.
Back to vinyl, and which is great. I'm all for it. And we're in a world where we can download high definition audio through into our computers, and not enough people doing that. But
are you putting the new record on vinyl?
Yes.
Awesome.
And we're actually doing a box set right from the initial release, vinyl, CD, DVD with the ceramics and a high def stereo version on it.
A box set of all the records?
No, just the new.
Oh, just one. But what about the back catalog?
The back catalog is we have two box set releases: Eye in the Sky and Tales of Mystery. But there have been deluxe CD versions of.
I've seen that.
All those two, of all the other albums too.
Yeah. Are you a vinyl guy at home?
I'd like to be, but we've been remodeling, so it's sitting gathering dust in our dining room at the moment.
So you're out in Santa Barbara, right?
Yeah.
How did you land in Santa Barbara and America, really? Because you grew up in London, right?
Grew up
Eventually you got over here?
I made a move to Santa Barbara with my previous wife, with my two sons, and we tried to make a go of it, but my ex-wife just didn't like it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But I did. I loved it. And as soon as I'd met Lisa, my new wife, not so new now, actually, how long is it now? 12 years or something. She also knew Santa Barbara, and we came and said, "Oh, this is it. This is where we're gonna settle." It's
beautiful out there, right? Are you a car guy or anything? Like, what do you spend your money on? Did you make a lot of money on the records, or did you get robbed?
A little bit of both. I mean, I was very comfortable at one period during the 80s. I had a big mansion in the south of England, you know, a big rock star palace kind of place.
Oh yeah.
But that was kind of short lived, and obviously divorces get in the way of riches.
Yeah, they'll slice them in half.
And declining record sales also have an influence on that. So I'm. I've got a mortgage like countless others right now. You know, I'm not. I need to work, and I need to continue to make records to survive.
What's it like out there now in the landscape? It's a lot of cruise ships and casinos, correct?
We've done it. We've just done this Justin Hayward on the Blue Cruise, which was fun. We did one other cruise the previous year, and one other for a TV and audio magazine that put a cruise together, and we were the only artist appearing on that cruise for that. Well, that was fun. Cruises are fun. They're good.
You guys are going to play the Saban, right?
Next week.
Yeah.
Or is it
it's like April 4th or something.
April 4th.
Yeah, right. I want to go to that.
All right. Well,
I got to see that. Think you could hook me up?
Of course we can. The tour manager is right here, sitting next to me.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
She'll make it happen.
What about in the 90s what were you doing in the 90s? Because it was definitely a time where everyone kind of seemed to disappear. Were you playing music at all live? Were you making music?
In the early 90s, I made the last album I did with Eric Wolfson, which was called Freudiana, and that ended up in a horrible lawsuit.
What was the instrumental record that like you guys turned in, and then they were like, no?
Oh, that was called The Sicilian Defense.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was released at the insistence of the label as part of a multi-CD box set of, big thick box of all the CDs. And, most people play it only once.
So in the 90s...
Including me.
In the 90s, so you make that record, and then you're...
And then, through this terrible lawsuit, I was kind of cut off from earning any money from Arista because my royalties was channeled through Eric's company, and his assets were frozen. So I made an album called Try Anything Once, having secured the services of many of the session guys who had played on the other albums, in Benson included, Stuart Elliott, the drummer, Andrew Powell, keyboards and orchestral arrangements. And who played bass? I'm trying to remember who played bass on that album. It must have been Felix Krish, I think, another old friend from the past. And we made an album, and we said we'd like to put it on the road and give it the best possible chance. So that's when we put the Alan Parsons Live project together for the first time, and we did a tour of Germany. Then we did a tour with Yes in America.
With Yes?
Yeah, we opened for Yes, which was great. And during that tour, I met my wife to be.
What was she doing out there?
Well, she was a bit of a fan, apparently.
Oh, all right. Like she's looking over your shoulder, like, oh, I was a big fan.
Oh, we were both very married at that time.
Wow. Oh shit. But you know what I mean. To me, I wouldn't know who's in the band because there was no videos. This is all pre-videos, and there's no touring or anything. So that had to kind of be a little bit cool of being able to walk around with monster hits and not being bugged.
We did have by the time Stereotomy came along, we had videos. We had there was an award-winning video for Don't Answer Me. It was animated, sort of Dick Tracy cartoon style video. Do you remember that?
I do remember that actually. Yeah. I do remember that.
So we were on MTV,
right?
In the MTV heyday, but we weren't a performing band, so we couldn't do performance video. Everything had to be kind of abstract and conceptualized,
That's so wild.
Because neither of us wanted to actually be on the screen singing or playing.
Who was doing all the album covers back then? These things are incredible pieces of art.
It was Storm Thorgerson. His company was called Hypnosis with a G, Hypnosis. And he did all our covers, all the Pink Floyd covers too.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean he was a real visionary.
Would you just say do whatever you wanted?
Did you see the new album cover yet?
I haven't seen it. Let's see it.
It's kind of in his realm. Can you bring up the album cover?
Same guy do it?
No, he's sadly no longer with us.
Oh, I gotcha. But I think somebody influenced.
Stylistically, I think
wow.
He was heavily.
That's on Frontier, right?
Frontier's records out of Italy, yeah.
Right. Oh wow, that's cool.
Those are magic wands. The cover designer went out and bought 400 magic wands.
Whoa! Look at that. Those are all magic wands made to be a stairway that also look like piano keys.
Yeah,
a little bit.
A little bit.
This is beautiful. Now, how many songs on this record?
I think it's 13 songs. It's either 12 or 13. I'm not certain.
This is a long record for you guys. 48 minutes. Back in the 70s, everything was like 31 minutes.
The first album that I talked about, Try Anything Once, that lasted exactly 60.00 minutes. We made it. We actually shuffled things around to make it exactly an hour, which was unheard of these days. Nobody would do an hour of music for an album anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what we did.
Are you a fan of, I wanted to talk to you about this, streaming? Are you hip to what's happening there? People are getting
I'm okay
ripped
with it,
off?
provided it's good quality. I mean,
Right. But what about payment-wise?
Satellite radio is horrible sounding.
Oh, really? Like, so serious?
Not good. Not good.
Not good.
There goes my interview with SiriusXM planned for later in the week.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying because
But when it's about quality, then it's a different story. Streaming, it's okay. I mean, so many people just rely on YouTube to get their music, and they'll spend an occasional $1.99 to get a download off iTunes or something. But something has to change, because if a major artist's royalties from Spotify is like $10 a year,
oh, that's
there's
crazy.
got to be something wrong.
Yeah, that's definitely some robbery going on out there. You have like 1 million downloads and you get like $6,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, like what?
And then there's the advertising revenue from YouTube as well. That generates money,
You're correct on that too.
and that goes to labels, of course.
That's crazy, right? It's like songs that you wrote in the 70s. Do you own the songs?
I don't know.
No.
But of course I own royalties on them, but I don't own the copyrights.
Right. Yeah, you think about these songs that were wrote in the 70s. Nobody had any idea that here we are in 2019, and they're as big as ever.
Well,
I mean, they get played. Alan Parsons Project gets played every day somewhere.
Well, that's good to know.
It's true.
And that
I wouldn't want to be like you. That song's on all the time.
Well, that puts a few cents in the bank.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge amount of money, but it helps. Every little helps.
So the new record comes out and on what's the date?
April
9th?
26th.
April 26th.
We've got 2 singles out already. First is called Miracle, and that's sung by Jason Mraz.
Oh, really?
So it's like stepping back 20 years.
Jason Mraz sang it?
Yeah.
And how did that happen?
Well,
This is cool.
I knew him through a mutual friend, a neighbor, who's a fruit grower, and Jason is also a fruit grower. He lives in where is he? Huntington Beach or around there somewhere? Oh, it's Orange County somewhere. And this neighbor grows coffee, and Jason was interested in growing coffee himself. And us both being musicians, this neighbor introduced us, and we got on really well. And it turned out he'd done his own version of Eye in the Sky,
No joke?
just for his own amusement. He said he used to listen to the album in his mum's car, sitting in the back seat as a kid. And at the end of last year, I got in touch with him and said, I got a song that I think might suit you. And I sent it to him by email, and he came back on the phone and said, I love it. I want to sing it.
That's incredible.
And,
That is so cool.
Yeah, and that's the first single. It's called Miracle. It's already out. The second single just came out yesterday, and that's called I Can't Get There From Here.
Who sang on that one?
A guy called Jared Mahone, who I hadn't met him until we shot the video, because a lot of stuff these days gets recorded over the internet.
So you just send the stems out?
Yeah.
And then how do you choose the singer? Somebody recommends them and stuff?
Yeah, the one of the co-writers of the song knew this guy, Jared. And so that was quite a coup. And another coup was we got Lou Gramm to sing a song.
Lou Gramm? Wow.
So he's sort of come out of hiding, as it were.
Yeah. And now,
He's-
did you send him the stem or did you see him?
I never saw him either.
Wow.
No, I sent him the song. And
This is incredible, the age of recording,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, it really is. Internet recording has come of age. It can be done now. And he did a great job. It's a song called Sometimes. That's likely to be released as the last single before the release of the album.
Man, Lou Gramm,
on
what
April 26th.
a voice that guy. I mean, he's another voice of the 70s. When you look at
Exactly.
all those hits from the first record all the way to Foreigner 4, you can't even believe how many hits they have. It is, and then even after Foreigner 4, where they get into that, I want to know what love is and all that, but that's a different era. That's a lot like Journey when they get into their big ballads and all that. But the early,
This is a ballad he's singing.
yeah.
It's a slow, smoochy love song.
In the early days, were you writing the lyrics?
Eric was the principal songwriter and wrote 90% of the lyrics. I mean, I
Gotcha.
pitched in a line here and there, but that was his strength.
Yeah.
Lyrics.
Lyrics are so hard.
I feel I've got better at lyrics over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
a
a,
bit
it's
of
a lot like
experience.
comedy. You have to just keep doing it. It's a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a muscle. Are you into comedy?
Oh, yes.
I'm just asking because I do stand-up comedy now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was out there with Bill Burr. We did what's the big theater on the main street there?
In Santa Barbara?
Yeah.
The Arlington?
Yeah, we
Or
did
the-
that.
or
It's
the Granada?
beautiful.
We
That
got-
thing's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ooh, man.
It feels like you're outdoors. But you're
Right?
indoors,
Yeah, they got this. Yeah, they got the
Stars and the
stars
things,
painted
yeah.
on the roof.
Yeah.
It's beautiful in there.
Yeah, it's a good venue.
Are you a comedy guy or just?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like British comedians.
Yeah.
Eddie Izzard. I love Eddie Izzard. Do you know him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do
And I was a
comedy.
big Monty Python fan, so all the Python guys.
Of course.
So, all that stuff. Fawlty Towers, John Cleese, I can watch those over and over again and still laugh just as much.
That shit's classic. Right. Well, I'm fired up to see you guys live, and at the Saban, and then you got a whole tour going on?
Yeah, we're doing the Saban, then we go up to Reno, and then into Washington State, and then up to Canada for a couple of gigs. This is about a 2-week run coming up.
How many gigs do you play a year?
Well, I think this year is going to be more than average because we've got a record to promote, so we're working hard to...
Did Dan play on the record?
Oh, absolutely, every track.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Did you say that on the air? Did you say who Danny Thompson is before you started running the recorder? Because maybe people don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't think your machine was running. Then,
It was absolutely.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, we're
All right.
talking to. Yeah. Oh,
right.
When you sat down, I just started talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's so cool that Dan played. I had no idea because I haven't seen Dan in a while.
Well, you'll see him. You'll see him in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he used to live in L.A. I think. Did he move back to the Bay Area?
He actually lived around here for a while.
Yeah.
I think back in the Burbank area now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I gotta look.
He got
him-
married and he's got a kid.
That's what I heard, and you played at his wedding.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so wild. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's on Frontier, and it's out in April. And go see Alan Parsons on the tour. And it's just amazing to have a legend on. I mean,
Thank you so much.
not only your music, but your work. I mean, Pink Floyd. You worked with Pink Floyd, dude. That is insane. Hey, did you record The Clock? I heard.
The clocks, yeah, the series of clocks, yeah.
You were the one that did that?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Just different
We
clocks?
just went into the store and said, "Can you stop all the clocks?" And I recorded each one separately. You just made one tick at a time,
Yeah.
and then we just compiled a big barrage of ticking clocks, and then ultimately a barrage of chiming clocks.
God,
But all done artificially. I mean, each clock was recorded separately.
it's so amazing. Roger's a cuckoo, huh?
And he was getting on with David Gilmour back then.
Yeah. I mean, how dumb are they not to just shake hands and do the biggest tour on the planet?
It would be too. It would be the
A
biggest one.
100%. I never understood people that are like, fuck. I mean, that's a serious fuck off to not just do it to the fans one last time.
I know.
That would just be football stadiums.
Right.
That's all that
Absolutely.
would. That's all that would be. Well, thanks for coming by.
You're very welcome. Nice to see you.
And what a great body of work you have. Your songs are insane, dude. They're so great. And I just love that whole, as you would say, yacht rock, but I just love that whole era. It's just, it's proof that great songs are the first thing you should worry about. Don't worry about your look. Don't worry about your image, any of that. What do you got song-wise? And that's really what it is. I'm looking forward to hearing the Lou Gramm song. I'm going to fire that up when it comes. It's not available.
You can hear a little sample on iTunes. All the songs are on iTunes already in a minute and a half, whatever you get.
Right.
So you can hear.
I got to listen to that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming over, man.
Most welcome. Thank you.
And this will be out this Monday, so of course we can promote all the shows coming up and the record. So thank you so much for coming by. And thank you to your wife for getting you here.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, guys. Make sure you get that new record and go see him live. I can't wait to see.
All the details are at alanparsons.com if you want to.
alanparsons.com. You got a Twitter or anything?
Yeah, we've got Facebook. And Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. alanparsons.com. Please look it up and go see this man and the music. It's just monumental out there. Thank you guys for tuning in.